Corrasion is the third and final heavy burst pulse rifle to release with episode 1 Echoes. This was the one I was looking forward to the most. We've already reviewed Aisha's Care, and while I don't have a good nullify to talk about it yet, Corrasion was definitely the most interesting, and that's just because of one perk. And I'm immediately going to drop those combos to let you know what I think the god roll combos are when you go to craft this thing, but before I do, make sure you subscribe for more content and like the video if you did enjoy. My number one roll is going to be Air Trigger Volt Shot. Air Trigger is basically outlaw, and all you gotta do is just a little hop and you're going to instantly reload your weapons, and Volt Shot requires a reload. Fantastic synergy, absolutely love it, and I'm going to use some mag boosting perk with that. But if I'm going to use something like Frenzy, which is definitely a perk I would be using on this because it's just free damage, Frenzy already gives you 100 reload speed, so that's not really something we want to use with Air Trigger, so I would be going high impact reserves for extra damage. So right now, two god rolls are Air Trigger with Volt Shot and high impact reserves with Frenzy. An acceptable roll to me is going to be Pugilist Swash, but that's only for melee builds. One other combo that I want to talk about is going to be High Impact Reserves and Volt Shot. So normally I wouldn't recommend this kind of combo because you need High Impact Reserves towards the end of the mag, and Volt Shot requires a reload, so if you don't get a kill at the end of the mag, will it proc Volt Shot? This Heavy Burst Pulse Rifle actually has the smallest base magazine out of all of the heavy bursts, sitting at 18, and you can actually get a kill with it at 18 shots, so your 18th or your 17th shot can get a kill, and it shoots so fast and has a good enough reload speed at base to where you'll actually be able to activate high impact towards the end, hit 0 ammo, reload, and still proc Volt Shot. Now, with you procking high impact, you'll probably get a kill, and if you are worried, you can use something like Alloyed Mag if you want, but the only thing that will stop you from getting Volt Shot to proc on your reload is going to be Extended Mag. So that is the one big perk that I would recommend you staying away from when comboing Volt Shot with high impact reserves. And that works out great this season with Corrasion because pulse rifles are anti-barrier, and then with Volt Shot you have overload, so that's two champions stunnable right there. And while I've been mumbling, Crucible's been going on in the background, so let's talk about what I think is good on this thing for Crucible. I really liked a dueling roll, and I was using Perfect Float and Eye of the Storm, which was like no flinch most of the time, but the roll that I actually settled on was going to be Swashbuckler. And the reason I say that is because if you run this with a solar subclass, or just basically any way that you're able to gain Radiant, so Radiant Orbs right now in the artifact, you have the Hunter dodge on Prismatic or Solar, and then you have getting powered melee hit while on Prismatic, and then you also have that on Solar. So if you're running any of those combinations, you basically get a melee hit or kill. You get the kill, you're going to get Swashbuckler times 5. You're also going to be granted Radiant. This thing with Swashbuckler times 5 and Radiant has a TTK of 0.47, and that's 4 headshots. Now, the odds of getting 4 headshots with these things is really rough because the flinch is, like I said, pretty bad. So I'd recommend something like Perfect Float, which is basically just being in combat for 6 seconds is going to grant you 35% flinch resistance for 10 seconds. And even with that, you might want some stability, so you're going to need polygonal rifling and a stability masterwork. These things also, despite having very high range, base range of 75, need a little bit of range. So I'd recommend going Accurized if you want to add any range, because steady rounds hurts your range, and I don't think that stability bump is really worth it. So with that being said, I'm going to recommend Perfect Float and Swashbuckler, which is a pretty weird combo, but basically as long as you're on one of those classes, you're going to get that melee hit or kill, preferably kill, so you can proc Swash, and whenever you do that, you're going to be able to get that 4 head, 0 body with a 0.47 TTK, which is normally a 0.8, so it actually makes it usable from where 0.8 isn't even remotely competitive. You can use things like Air Trigger for a faster reload, you can use Enlightened Action for a faster reload, you can use Pugilist for a melee based build. Perpetual Motion is okay. These are all things you can do, I just wouldn't recommend them. High Ground doesn't really change a whole lot. Focus Fury isn't a big enough damage buff. I don't recommend Volt Shot in the Crucible. Eye of the Storm isn't going to help you get a competitive TTK. One for All will, but you have to hit 3 targets, and that'll also give you a 0.47. So I'm going to seriously recommend Perfect Float Swash. I don't think there's really another role I would use. And thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe because we're close to hitting our end of year goal. Like the video, comment because it really helps me out, and see you guys in the next video, whatever it may be.